have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberrg, and do we have a show for you today? So our guest is Corbie Mitleid, and Corbie is a certified tarot master, past life specialist, psychic medium, teacher, ordained minister, author. We can't forget the author part because she has written 3 amazing books. Corbie has been reading for almost 50 years and is a full-time intuitive counselor with clients worldwide. Corbie is a featured channel in Robert Schwartz's breakthrough series on karma and pre-birth planning, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and Your Soul's Love, which, by the way, is phenomenal. And I've read each book, and Corbie's insights are just so brilliant. As an author, her self-help volume, Clean Out Your Closet, encourages you to write your own story of change based on your history, your life experiences, and your personal goals. Her books, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie, deal with how to use psychic counseling wisely and how to be successful as a part of a holistic expo community from the professional standpoint. Welcome, Corbie. How are you doing today? We lost Corbie.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
Boom. Yes. Hi. Yes, I'm still here.
I'm so happy you are because we've got so much to talk about. You came from a family of medical professionals. Mm-hmm. I read, I think your brother is a doctor, your father was a doctor, your mother was a nurse, and you decided to go in a different way to help heal people.
Yes.
And you were how old when you realized you didn't want to go in the traditional path?
It wasn't a matter of realizing I didn't want to go on the traditional path. Nobody said you're going to be in medicine. But for me, I was always interested in what you couldn't see and you couldn't quantify. The book that I read when I was 9 called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, it was like, okay, great, there is magic in the world and that's where I want to go look. And so fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior in high school. And yes, my darlings, that tells you how old I am. Working part-time at Spencer Gifts. They had the James Bond 007 Tarot deck and I bought it because we were all hippies then. Marla, we had the elephant bell bottoms and the fringe jacket.
Yep.
And the decks. Now, 5 years later, everybody else was on to roller skates and disco balls. I kept the cards. I loved what I was getting. I love the stories they told. So for 20 years, I read for friends, making sure that my ego was out of the way. And all of a sudden in the early 90s, the universe kind of said, hello, here's your draft notice. You're working for us. So I said, great. And I hung out my shingle part-time. Meanwhile, a very checkered career, actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, writer for a graphic novel series called ElfQuest, legal assistant, executive recruiter, anything I could do to figure out where I belonged. But the psychic work was always on the side. I had no idea I could make a living at it per se. I was in service. So when we watched the towers burn on 9/11, that's when I turned to my husband and I said, I have got to do this work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. And he said, I believe in you, go do it. So for 1 more year, I worked 70 hours a week, corporate, did the psychic work evenings and weekends. When I was sure I could make any kind of a living at it, closed the door in corporate, and I have never looked back. So now it's 6 days a week, 14 hours a day, 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. Big difference.
It's a huge difference. And here's the thing, when you love what you're doing, which is, in your case, I'm going to interpret it as being of service.
Yes.
You know, it becomes the pleasure because you know you're helping. You're helping somebody, give them some guidance as to why they are the way they are, why they're experiencing what they're experiencing, or why they might want to go down a certain path. And so I just find that to be incredibly brilliant. Now, you've written 3 books. and you've been part of others, which we'll talk about. I love the names of your book. Clean Out Your
Thank you.
LifeCloset,
Yep.
which is fabulous. The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? And the last two are really for the client to give them information how to protect themselves, and
Yes.
for the professional metaphysician, I'll put it as, so that they understand if they're going into the expo world, how to do it and do it successfully, which are two amazing out
The
focuses.
last book, there's nothing else out there like that. And I can't tell how many people said, well, I'm retiring and I had a deck of tarot cards in high school, so I'm going to be a reader. Honey. So, I mean, I was on the road for 18 years, 45 weekends a year, 45,000 miles on the car. My nickname was the Travel Channel. I've got information like nobody's got. And I want to share it because at 67, I'm not going to go back on the road. And there need to be people out there. So I'm happy to share what I learned. Why would I not?
And it's so important because navigating the expos, it's a fascinating dichotomy. I've done a few. And just learning how to do that and how to deal with your neighbors and their energy is huge.
We're not all, hi, I'm Little Dancing Butterfly, and this is my friend Arctic Bear, and we're all good. No, I wish, my darlings, I really do. But there's competition. There are people who are into scarcity thinking, and they do what I call bitchcraft. So you need to be able to straddle the twin mountains of business acumen and wiki-woo, or you are not going to be successful.
That's what the point is.
You know, I told us when we were chatting beforehand, I have done stand-up comedy on You Think a Cyclist's Life is Easy. I take my work very seriously, but me not so much.
I think that's a brilliant statement because yes, you should be serious about what you're doing because you're working with people, you're giving them information, and you want to be as clear and concise and accurate for their highest and best good as absolutely
And they're
positive.
trusting you with things they don't tell anybody else. You have got to be absolutely there from them, focused, compassion, and any of your stupids, they are on the shelf for the day. It's just how it works.
Yeah. It's like leave your ego at the door.
Yeah. Ego is the thing that will destroy a good reader. Yes, I know we have ego here because we're in the earth plane and blah, 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 blah. But ego will keep you from giving someone a message that you think is off the wall. It will keep you from telling them something if you're afraid they won't like what you say. You can't. You're the tube. So what John Holland says, you are the tube the information comes from. It ain't you.
It's none of your business what comes through. It's not for your knowledge. It's for the person you're telling it to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you need to get out of your way or out of the way of for the client's highest and best good, and the focus should be on the client, in my opinion. I don't mean to shoot all over this conversation.
Oh no! I completely agree. I mean, there's a reason why I do not do mediumship publicly. I'll do it one-on-one, but not publicly. There have been times when what came out of my mouth, the client was really, frankly, pissed at me about. And then they come back the next time I'm there and say, well, you were right. I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger.
Exactly. Joshua saying an example of ego is self-proclaimed titles.
Now I'd be interested what he thinks is a self-proclaimed title. It is, if it is, hi, I am the best medical intuitive on planet Zorch, maybe. But if all of your testimonials say that, that's not a self-proclaimed title.
Right.
The certified tarot master, that was given to me by the Tarot Certification Board of America, the Tarot Guild. Right. I do not say anything that is not me.
I don't think he's
I don't want to have to live up to it.
Right. And I don't think he's saying to you, I think he's referring to other people who name themselves the number one, one of the top 10 best psychic mediums in the country. And yet they're really like 526.
900. Listen, the best of us are only 85% accurate. The only one 100% accurate is God. And he's not doing phone readings or psychic fairs this week, guys. So deal.
Non-egotistical name is I am that I am.
Right.
That is the name that the Lord goes by. whether you call them God, spirit, whatever,
Ralph the
God
Wonder
on the
Dog. I
island.
mean, yeah,
Right,
whatever it is.
exactly. And it's true. It is true. Let's talk about Clean Out Your Life Closet. I know this is not necessarily the same meaning, but it's funny. My first metaphysical teacher in her mystery school, and I paraphrase, that was her credo. Like in the school, you needed to clean out your own closet before you could clean out anybody else's closet.
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
have this title, which encourages you to talk about changing, which is actually cleaning out
Yes.
your life's closet. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I started that book, actually, it was just going to be some weekly blogs. I asked my clients in 2016, what are the things you keep tripping up on? And I got a list of 36 things, but the top 4 were clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress. So I said, great, that's what I'll write about. But self-help books can be really toxic. I mean, I'll give $50 cold cash to the first person who can show me that they never bought one. My first one was when I was 13 in 1968, and I remember the first chapter's opening paragraph. Judy has groovy clothes. Judy has fab hair and her makeup is far out. But nobody likes Judy because Judy's fat. And so that first chapter was how, if you're fat, you're nothing. And here, this is how you have to diet.
Oh, wow.
And then you wonder why so many kids have problems with eating disorders. That was in the 60s.
I thought that was Twiggy.
So no, I mean, remember, Weight Watchers was only 2 years old at that point. But self-help books that say we're the only way to get it done damage you. There's a book out there, I don't know who it's by, but she says, don't eat food with leptin, and you have to get up at 4:30 every morning to do yoga. You are a single mom in Minneapolis, St. Paul with 3 preschool kids and a job, and she expects you to do that. What planet is she on?
Right.
So my book is, here's some of the stupid things I did. Here's a client story, and here are some suggestions. But at the end of each chapter are what I call the adventure pages, and you cannot answer them from the book. You have to answer them from you.
The heart.
Finding happiness with what you have right now. You read that chapter, and then you get things like, how good are you at finding happiness in the moment? If you aren't good, what do you think stops you? Think of 3 situations in your life that aren't looking terrific right now. How can you find some happiness in the journey? That's not on page 87. That's you look at your own life. Right. Because your life is what changes and your life is what can blossom.
And it's the healing in your life that makes the difference.
Yes,
moving forward.
Exactly.
And that's another thing that happened to you is like through your journey, you realize that you were able to heal people on a metaphysical, energetic level, as well as with the psychic mediumship. And how did that come about? And how does that work when you're
My friend had bronchitis. Now I am not a hands-on healer. I can make you walk when you're in a chair. No, I'm not there, guys. I wish. That was not part of my menu. But I know things like I can relieve pain, headaches, migraines, even over the phone. My friend who has since passed, she had bronchitis that for 6 weeks antibiotics weren't touching. And I was visiting and she said, could you help? So I said, sure, I'll try something. So I put my hands on her and all of a sudden, she says my hands got really warm and I got a vision of a forest, stream, bright sunlight in early spring when you still have some ice on the top, but the water is running underneath and it's breaking things down. And I told her what I was seeing and I just concentrated on bringing that breakdown energy into the crud in the lungs. And within 36 hours, she was fine. She didn't need the antibiotics. It was cleared. Now, could it have been timing coincidence? Oh, of course. But that was the first time of a lot of things like that. The whole point is, if we're quantum, if there's space between the atoms and we're just energy, why can energy not change the energy and give it a refocus?
And it can, and it does. And, and there are a lot of people who, like I'm trained in over 30 modalities, 30 techniques, but I don't use all of them in what I do, but I use what comes to me to, that I need.
Mhm.
So wait, Josh has something else to say. Psychiatry will label anyone that hears, sees, experiences the spiritual and believes it as schizophrenic, suffering delusions of psychosis. My response to that label is crazy lives matter. Okay, Josh, I really like that.
Yeah.
Crazy lives matter. All lives matter.
And that's where my thank you for sharing comes in. Fine. You want to believe that? You go right ahead, honey. So,
Well, I'm just, people need to, like a lot of people on the street, they have mental issues
mhm.
from various things. Their
Yes.
lives matter as much as yours and mine. That's what I'm talking
Mhm.
about.
Yes, they do. They do. But to lump us all in together
No.
doesn't work. Um, I'll be honest, some of the people that are labeled skits may have our gifts, but the wiring is off. All the feeding that they've gotten about you're crazy, and they haven't been I mean, you need to be taught some of the things we do.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're getting a message from your spirit guide. If it's Robin Williams or Princess Diana or Whitney Houston, I guarantee it's not. Your guide would never tell you that you're wonderful when somebody else stinks. They would never beat you up about what you do. They would never try and get you to do something you know is illegal or immoral.
Right.
That's your ego talking. And that is the mental stuff you need to fix.
I
Your
agree.
spirit guide doesn't care if you buy the blue car or the green car. It really doesn't.
Right. Or if it's a Rolls Royce or an Audi, they don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah, I will agree 100% with you. You started working with getting into pre-birth, which fascinates me, the whole pre-birth planning aspect of readings.
Mhm.
How did you go into that?
Rob found me. Rob found me. He was doing searches online in late 90s or 2000, trying to find people who remembered life between lives. And he found that I could do a lot of channeling and that I could channel people's souls for them to talk to if the soul wants to talk. I don't go and bring a belt
Right.
bull and they show up. And the way I would explain it, especially the past life stuff that I do, spirit, when it wants to get you on the roster, goes rifling through your file cabinet to see what you got. Me? I was a theater major at Brown University and a professional actress in New York. I understand characters. Words have been my drug of choice since I was a wee thing. I know how to tell stories. And I've been a history nut since I was in single digits. Now, you put all that together and you show a vision to me and another competent past life person. They might say, well, it's a long skirt and a big hat and you're in front of something very ornate, so I know it's old fashioned. I'd see the exact same thing and go, okay, hobble skirt, picture hat, that kind of an ostrich feather, and you're in front of the Brandenburg Gate. So this is Berlin in 1911. Which one's going to give you more information? On the other hand, do not ask me to do spirit art for you because I cannot draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer. It's not in my file cabinet.
Right. I get it. It's not the wheelhouse. Not everybody does everything. And there's so many ways of doing this. Okay, Josh is saying, knew you before you were born. Scripture refers to astrology, since knowing the conception date can determine 90% of the natal chart without knowing the day or the hour, like Jesus said.
I'm not an astrology person, Josh, so I can't comment. I do words, not numbers.
Yeah, and astrology is really a science. I mean, it's truly, truly a science. And yes, it has numbers in it, but it is, I feel, scientifically based.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is a fabulous, fabulous astrologer in York, Pennsylvania. Her name is Pat Dumas. And once a year, I will sit down with her and she will give me, an hour and a half of detail. And darn if it isn't boom, 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 boom. You cannot convince me astrology is nothing.
I think there's so much to astrology. Here's what I look at. I look at all these modalities that all these amazing people have, and they work with their clients who resonate with those techniques, modalities.
Mm-hmm.
I look at life as a dartboard, and all of these people are around the dartboard, all trying to get themselves and their clients to the bullseye, which I call the sweet spot of life.
Yes.
And I truly feel that's what you were just saying.
Exactly. Exactly. Whatever tool will get you to live your best life so you go skinned into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank. And when God hands you a beer and says, so you got stories to tell, and you do it
Yeah.
with glee, then you did it right.
You did. I so agree with that. And so you're okay. I'm going to go to this pre-birth planning because I love
Yeah.
the fact that, because when I was listening to the books, I had all these epiphanies, and it's about how we set up our situations before we're born. Souls that really truly love us when they're on this earth have agreed to treat us however it is they've agreed to treat us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's I don't think a lot of people understand the whole concept of why they ask those beings on the other side to do what they're doing in this life, to wound them, to harm them, to break things up. So how can you share that with them?
All right. Well, for one thing, anybody who has read Rob's first book, Your Soul's Plan, I'm the only one he's ever worked with that's in the book from what I call both sides of the fence. Yes, I'm one of his 4 major channels, but I am also the person named Doris in the physical illness chapter.
Oh.
So, yes. So in that case, you had my father, my mother, and me. And my mother was an alcoholic, cross-addicted with barbiturates, very emotionally abusive. But it was the first time she and I had any karma together. Her karma was always with Dad. But when we were all sitting around making plans, I knew that to deal with everything I was going to deal with, being in a female body, learning to value it, learning that women were worth more than their bodies, then I would need a best friend as a father. Dad's soul usually came in same generation and my best friend, but he came in as the father-child partnership this time at my request. Now, he needed to do karma with my mother. So my soul said to her, I will need a mother who is abusive and will have this one trigger point at age 16 so that I can decide, as I say, gut course or double major plus lab. She is a good, kind, creative, gentle soul when she's out of the body. But she volunteered to be this miserable, horrible, pained person to help me grow. And the reason is these are only parts we play. I use an example, but people say, but isn't that you and your soul, etc. Right? Let's take the actor Matt Smith. Matt was the 11th Doctor on Doctor Who. Yeah, I admit he's my doctor. Crazy, funny, bow tie, suspenders, best friend. When he hung up the bow tie and suspenders, Matt Smith then became Prince Philip in the 2 first seasons of The Crown. Totally different person and personality. Matt Smith is the soul. The Doctor and the Prince are incarnations. That's how you look at it. The soul is the actor that puts on roles. So that when you say, how could you do that? That was so dumb of you to ask. We didn't ask. We are the costume and the lines. And I know when we have big egos, that's hard to listen to, but
Yes.
It's the truth. The things that stay when we cross over are the good things that we are. The compassion, the kindness. I mean, my father died in 2001, a week before 9/11. When he comes to work with me, because he still does medical consults with me sometimes, he puts on the Dr. Jerry suit. He's funny, he's compassionate, he's wise, he's insightful. What did he leave upstairs? The depression, the hypochondria, and the anxiety. That was personality stuff, and it's gone. But the shining part of Jerry Dorkin is still very much around. And that's what happens to us. You're going to drop all the, I'll use a Yiddish word, meshagas, all the mess.
Mm-hmm.
And what's left is the shining part of the soul.
Which I think is wonderful. And I'd love for people to know that this is just all temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're saying. I mean, we're in a production, and at some point the production will end. We'll take our bows, we'll move on. And all the things that were holding us down and blocking us here will evaporate and disperse.
Mm-hmm. When you go through tough stuff, you have to look at it as the examined life. Well, what does that mean? This is happening to me and I don't want it. Well, I can't stop it. So to deal with it, what can I learn from it? Me personally, my next thing is how can I teach with it? And then the magic word, next. You know, there's so many women that have had cancer, and that's the first thing you hear. I had cancer. You know, I'm a cancer survivor. It's like their whole identity.
Right.
Yeah, well, I had cancer 3 times. I'm a cancer dancer. But that's not who I am now, any more than I would come up to you and shake your hand and say, hi, I was the 1973 Betty Crocker homemaker for tomorrow for New Jersey in high school. Yeah, I was, but it's not who I am now.
I love that. That is so funny.
I know when
It's
they
so
announced
true.
it, they announced it over the PA system at high school, and there was, and congratulations to, and you heard, oh shit, and I was the drama freak. I was not a Betty Crocker, but I was the one who won. So yeah, I mean, those are funny stories. We can tell ourselves funny stories about that, but you only need to hang on to what works for you.
Yes.
What do you want to bring as part of your package?
What would you tell somebody who's carrying around all their wounds, just, and they're not healing, they don't even try to heal or to try to change their circumstance, but just sort of wallows in whatever's happened to them and how they've accumulated it?
Those are the kind of people who do not know who they would be if they dropped their stories. So I would ask them the 3 magic questions. What are you X about? X is whatever the emotion, mad, depressed, sad, whatever. Why are you X about that? And the question we never ask ourselves, what do you think would happen if you stopped being X about that? They have to be asked, who would you like to be without your story? See?
I love that. And it's like people who want to change their life because of their story.
Yes.
And they do, and they succeed in it. Somebody will move to a new city and become a whole different person because they don't have all the history following them, and they're not taking it with them.
How many kids go from high school to college and their name was, Mary Louise in high school, and they change it to Mickey, and nobody knows them as Mary Louise? Same thing.
Right. Same exact thing. I love it. Okay, Josh is saying 360 divided by 12 equals 30 degree arcs, yet numerology isn't based upon 12. Everything is numerical, and the spiritual favors 11 and 13. I've met life paths of every number from 1 to 33, so I'm curious which you think is most spiritual or spooky. Cancer is gone. Everyone dies of COVID now. No, they don't, Josh. They just say they do.
As far as spooky, numbers are not spooky any more than the periodic table is spooky. It's amazing if you realize, quantum physics in the atom, but iron is not nastier than mercury. That's Marvel comic stuff.
I agree so much. You know what? I want to take a second. You've got some things coming up that I want to talk to everybody about. First of all, if you want to get a hold of Corbie, your email address is
Corbie at CorbieMitleid.com. Couldn't be simpler.
There you go. So that's your email address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so CorbieMitleid.com, and Leid is L, so it's Mitlied.
No, Leid.
Sorry, dyslexic. Leid.com to look at her website. And Corbie is going to be at 2 shows upcoming, one in March, one in April. Corbie is going to be at the Alien Opera House Metaphysical Fair at 211 Catawba Street, Syracuse, New York, on Saturday, the 26th of March from 11 to 5. And she'll be at the Mind, Body, Soul Expo. I swear to God, everything's twisting. The Saratoga Springs City Center, 522 Broadway entrance, Saratoga Springs, on Saturday, April 16th. So if you're in the New York area or you want to take a trip to the New York area, go visit Corbie at these expos. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go on with our conversation. I am loving everything we're talking about. Because so many people have so many misnomers about what to expect from psychics, mediums, or any of the other metaphysicians that they
Yes.
go to. What would be
Yes.
the top 3 misnomers you can share?
Misconceptions. Number one,
Misconceptions.
no, I am not reading your head as you go by my booth. Okay. Number two, pay fair to play fair. We deserve to get paid. Every time I hear, well, this is a God's given gift and you should do it for free. Darling, yes, they used to do it that way, because if I was a villager in 300 AD Ireland, you'd bring me a chicken or a cloak or some firewood. You're not doing that now, so you need to pay us. And don't play trip the psychic. Really don't. The thing that drives me crazy is when people come up to my booth at a show and say, tell me something that you couldn't know about me, and if you're right, I'll have a reading. I just look at them and smile and say, I'm sorry, I don't roll over and fetch either. And I turn my back and they do not get a reading. You know, we do this because we love the work,
Yes.
because we want to be in service. We are not a trick pony. We are not your punching bag. And we are not there to buff up your ego. We're there in service, and we will tell you the truth. Deal.
I like that. And also, I think people need to hear the information may be free, but our time is not. I mean, we're human beings and we have bills, and we, time means something. And it's
Yes.
time you never get back.
And yes, the person next to me may be charging $20 and I'm charging 80. They've been reading for 3 years. I've been reading for half a century with enough certifications as long as your arm.
Right. Makes a
So
difference.
it's like taking your car to the high school kids who are taking auto shop, or you're going to the auto mechanic that has 650 5-star ratings on Yelp. One's going to charge more than the other guys. And if it's your car, you will not object to paying for it.
Right.
But people do not respect psychics. They think we're carnies. We're not.
And I have to say, there are people out there that do that too. Very, I'm trying to think of a word to explain, but very professional, very true psychic mediums.
Mhm.
And then you find the ones that I read it in one of your stories about
Madam Hoo-Ha's and Swami Swalandas is what I call them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Can you explain what a Madam Hoo-Ha is and a Swami Salami is?
They're my names for people that are fakes. The reason why I wrote The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys, came directly from a show I did in Toronto about 15, 18 years ago. It was huge, 250 booths. And when it's 250 booths, you're going to get some charlatans in there.
Yes.
So there was a woman who was walking down the aisle, and there was a fake gypsy across the aisle from me. She comes running out of her booth and grabs the woman by the arm. This is called hooking, and it's as bad as the other kind of hooking.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, oh, you no need to pay $30, $40, $50. I rate your palm for 10. Come. Drags the woman in her booth behind a screen. 20 minutes later, a bunch of us see the client leaving crying hysterically. So we all rush over to see what happened. And the gypsy said, oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4? You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small. We fix. And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good. Only $1 candle. Her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks. And the woman bought it.
Oh my goodness.
No, that's why this book is written. It is not how to be a psychic or how to develop your own psychic abilities. There are 6,000 books out there for that. This is the equivalent of you go to art museums, and you love the paintings and you love the sculptures and you appreciate them, but you don't want to learn how to paint or sculpt. This is for people who really value intuitive consulting, but don't want to be flipping the cards or looking into the crystal ball themselves.
Well, and for good reason. I mean, it's like a doctor being their own physician. It's always better to go to somebody who could be unbiased about what's going on, because you can always switch what's going on with yourself to hear what you want to hear rather than what you need to hear.
Yes. Yeah. We were talking earlier, the does Bruce love me thing.
Yes.
When someone comes to 18 different psychics until they hear what they want, guys, you're wasting your money and our time. You know, if you beat on the psychic enough with taking your question and moving it 2 degrees constantly, you eventually some of them will go, yeah, he loves you and he wants 7 babies with you, but he just doesn't know it yet. Just because you've beaten them into submission. Now, you're not going to get to do that at my booth. I will shut you down. But that is what a lot of people come in to do. They think that they can get the psychic to tell them what they want.
Right.
No.
Or they must think the psychic's wrong because they're not telling them what they want. And I have to admit, when I was younger and I didn't know, I was a bit like that. Now I get what I see in hindsight going, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. When you don't know.
It's one of the reasons why I do what I call the rookie talk. If you sit down with me and you say you've never had readings before, I'll say, all right, 3 things. Number 1, if you don't understand what I'm telling you, you stop me right there. Corbie, back it up and do it again. No problem. Number 2, there is no such thing as a stupid question. Number 3, there are 3 cards that weird out rookies: Death, the Devil, and the Tower. And if they come up, I'll tell you what they mean, because it ain't that. And, you know, this is the card I love to explain. This is the Tower card. Everybody says, oh my God, doom, gloom, and destruction. I say, no. I want you to think of it as the imploding sports stadium card. Red Sox want to build a new stadium. They got to blow up Fenway first and clear the ground. This card is saying change is coming. You are not going to be able to avoid the change. So run toward it instead of away from it and see what you can do to work with it. When people see that, they go, oh, okay, that makes sense. This does not mean you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday. This is death of an old way of life, death of what you've outgrown, death of what was never you in the first place. When people understand allegory, they understand how just knowing the meanings in the little teeny book that comes with a Rider-Waite deck is not going to make you a good reader.
No.
You really have to look deeply and understand. And sometimes we're going to give you a card that is absolutely not what the books say. This one, 3 of Pentacles. Generally, in most decks, it shows a man working on a stained glass window in a church, and it's a card about mastery. I saw that card for a couple in Kitchener, Ontario several years ago, and what came out of my mouth, this is again when ego is aside, there is an abandoned or deconsecrated church within about 2 miles from here, and that's where you need to open up a cafe bakery. Now, they had said nothing about that, but they look at each other and look at me and go, oh yeah, we know which one. We've been arguing for 2 years. So we're just the tube it comes through, guys. It ain't us.
That's it. And it might be something to give you a visual, but the meaning might not be what you think you're seeing. And the whole point is you think
doorway
you're
through.
Right. Absolutely, which is amazing. And it's funny, I was having a conversation about tarot readers with somebody recently and saying that what's really powerful about a tarot reader is when they use their intuitive gifts to guide them rather than just giving you this, what you can read out of a book.
Exactly.
It's not worth the money it's written, the paper it's written on.
It's one of the reasons that I teach a course called Decadance, which is how to read with multiple decks at once. I have not only my tarot deck, which I love, but tons of different oracle decks. Each one has a different purpose. So, for instance, if you're asking me about love, yes, I will use the tarot deck, but then I will go for my deck that is by John Gray, the guy who did Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I'll look at the karma that's underneath. The more you can explain the storyline to people, the more in charge of their own lives they get. That's why if you say to me, is my new business going to be a success? I will look at you and say, and what if I said, no, you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge? It's the wrong question. You ask what empowers you. So there's my multi-card spread, a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, a card for the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know and best possible outcome. Now you've got a treasure map. You've got a rocket pack on your back, and you can go create the life you want because you've got the detailed information. Notice I didn't say whether it would be a success or not.
Right.
That is up to you. but I've given you pieces that you can use your free will with.
So important. It's so interesting because there was something I was going to share and it went away. So what I'm going to share instead is charity shout out time. So we do a charity shout out to spotlight the charity of choice for my guests. And today's charity is Buddy Dog Humane Society. And you can find that at buddydoghs.org. So Corbie, let's talk about Buddy Dog.
All right. For many, many years, I supported Magnificat cat rescue and rehoming out of the Bronx. In fact, one of my fuzzies is a ginger ninja that we rescued from a Bronx crack house, where they only fed him every few days after they got their drug money. They threw him against the wall and eventually just literally football kicked him out of the apartment.
Oh my God.
I got him. And trust me, he died and went to cat heaven here. He's got 2 big Maine Coon brothers, all the food he can eat. And it's like, Mom, will you quit picking me up and kissing me already? So Buddy Dog is in mid-Massachusetts. They've always partnered with Magnificat. They would take cats from the Bronx, bring them up to Buddy Dog, and they would be gone to their new homes within 2 or 3 days. Magnificat is no longer around because Mary, the wonderful founder, died after a long illness. And without her, it wouldn't work. So now we're supporting Buddy Dog because we know from experience, they love the animals. They only make sure that they have the best people. And it's the happily ever after that we want for all the strays and rescues that we find.
Absolutely. They deserve it because most of them have not been treated too well, which I don't understand. It's beyond my conception. But so please look at buddydoghs.org. See how you can help. You don't have to live in the area to donate money. If you are in the area, I'm sure they can use blankets and towels and above and beyond monetary support as well. But, there are things that you can bring to them that would be helpful. Even if you have an old flannel shirt, it can be used as bedding that they might want to, stay warm in, especially for the short hairs in the cold.
Adopt, don't shop.
I love that. Yes. I'm looking to bring up a pet friend to my guy Tug. So Corbie, what have I not asked you that you want to share with the listening audience?
Well, we haven't talked too much about You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? If you really want to go the route, this is not just for readers, this is healers, this is vendors for holistic spiritual stuff. I've given you everything I know, from how to choose a show, how to dress, how to do your booth. And there's some things on there that you won't find anywhere else. And I call them Corbie Gets Candid. For instance, those of you who are seeing today, notice this sign-in sheet that I always have at my desk. And my clients, unless they are disabled, write down their name, their birthday, and their email, just so I have it and I can do the reading from there. But why do I have them write it down? Many years ago in London, Ontario, there was a young man that didn't like what I told him, apparently. And the next day I found an anonymous death threat on my table. Now, handwritten, we compared it with my sign-in sheet. We knew who it was, and we turned it over to the Ontario police. People think, oh, it's all Little Dancing Butterfly and Arctic Bear, and nothing like that will ever happen. No, especially polarized today with the evangelicals that think that we do the devil's work, and people who simply want to take advantage, and people who are just angry at the world.
Yes.
We're in as much danger as a kid might get shot at school. So you have to think of how to protect yourself as well. In there is also things like how to network with people, how to make sure you don't fall into the bitchcrafting, how to work with your promoters. Promoters are your golden key. They're the ones who have gotten the venue and done the advertising. And if they have certain rules, like you do not go into the show hall in the morning until they're there, learn those rules and follow them, so that you're the one that always gets invited back to shows, and your name is the one that other people are given. Hey, I'm doing a new show here in St. Catharines, and we'd really like you to be part of it. It's just smart business sense and being the person you would want to invite to your own show.
I thought it was a great concept book because there isn't anything out there like it.
Nothing.
And again, if you don't, like, I know how I had to maneuver like a fish going upstream, like a salmon going upstream when I was first doing my expos. And it was just interesting with the energy and what my neighbors were doing, which were just like, just dropped my jaw, and I just sat there and held energy for myself. And the first day might not have been great, but the second day was phenomenal. And so, it's learning and how to weave and bob through all the details and all the minutia that happens with a trade show, with an expo.
Trust me, if your first few shows all you do is make back your booth fee, you are doing phenomenally. You really are. Give yourself the time like any other business.
And people follow these shows. They go from city to city. Like, for example, I'm from Chicago. There are 3 shows in Chicago, Body, Mind, Spirit show, within the course of a year.
Yep.
Well, there are people that will go to each of those shows. And if they see you at each of those shows, it would suffice to say that you will build credibility with them. And here's the thing, don't sell yourself. By selling pushing your services, allow them to get to know you and trust you and build a rapport. That's my feeling.
There's the way that I tell people, and I'm going, if you will, back into the psychic Hellbrick Road. There are people who don't know how to figure out a psychic from Adam's house cat, and they walk into these expos.
Yes.
So I tell them that they have to be good puppies. First thing you do is you do your walkies, and you just kind of walk around and you look at everybody there and you see what's going on. Then you get paper trained. What does paper trained mean? Paper trained means that all of us have rack cards or flyers or information about us. Collect from anybody who looks interesting. Then you sit down and you read it. There will be 3 or 4 of us that you really are considering. Talk to our front people if we have them. But remember, we hire our front people to say they love us. My first front person was my husband's office manager Monday through Friday and worked for me weekends. Do you think she's going to diss Mrs. Museum Director? Probably not. So you look for our testimonial books. We all have them. Are we good? Are we kind? Do we have specialties? Would people come back? But the last thing is check in at your heart chakra, darlings. If the psychic doesn't feel like they have a brain in their head, they really care about what they're doing, or they're going to give you good information, don't go there no matter how cool the wiki-woo looks on the table. And if nobody rings your chimes, leave without a reading. There will be somebody else, I promise, at another time.
Always. There's always someone else. I had a gal next to me, and she would stand in the aisle, and she would literally, hand out her card, but stand in front so nobody could see anybody else but her.
That is called hooking, like I said. And there are some shows where they catch you doing that more than once, you're out on your patoot.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love the people watching aspect to it. I mean, hopefully I wouldn't have time to watch too many people, but it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating to do these shows. And so I want to go back to Clean Out Your Life Closet.
Yep.
People want to know their life's purpose. What might be the first 2 steps you would suggest in somebody who's looking for their life purpose, how they can figure that out?
Don't ask your psychic, number 1. Because we haven't lived your life or faced your challenges. Your purpose is your sentence of passion. What's that? It's not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It's your vapor trail. It's the stories you're going to tell God when you get to heaven. My sentence of passion is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take them from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, whack someone on their shoulder and say, you don't need wings, here, get. I'm living my bliss, and I've done it in every job I've ever had. So some of the things you need to ask yourself, what's important to you? Where does your comfort lie? With me, it's words. Have you got any crises that you can teach from? What are some of the basics? Are you left-brained or right-brained? It's like I said, for me, 1 and 1 is 3 on alternate Tuesdays. Do not ask me to do astrology, but telling you stories of past lives and mediumship, I can do that. So it's a matter of knowing what is the last sentence of your story. They say J.K. Rowling knew the end of the 7th book of Harry Potter before she started writing the first one. She knew that last sentence. What you are here to do is find your joy and service. I'm going to very quickly go into my computer, and I can give you some examples of some sentences of passion that people did. A woman who worked for a hospice, her sentence of passion was, "My heart connects to lead the weary home." A mother who was finding how can she make a difference in the world. Her motto is, "Who needs my glitter today?" Her sentence of passion is, "Be the sparkle in the dark." A woman who worked as a parole officer, "If you don't ask, the answer is no," is her motto. Sentence of passion, "Life has changed, be fearless." You see, it's not I won't let you do a Hallmark golden rule, whatever. It has to be words that come from your gut. But when you've got that, you always know why you're here. It is your North Star. It is, am I living my purpose today, or am I getting off track? And the only one who's going to know that purpose is you, because you have lived it.
Yes.
We'll help you find it, but it has to be yours.
And people need to understand that, copying somebody else's doesn't make it theirs. They're like a fingerprint, or a snowflake. Everybody is so unique in their own right that, it's like a shoe that doesn't fit. I can borrow yours, but it doesn't mean it's going to fit me the way it fits you.
Exactly. Don't tell me the golden rule, kids. We all know that one. I want to find what means something for you. Now, occasionally I will let your motto come from a book you've read or something like that. I know that I have two. My public one is Live the Examined Life, but my private motto comes from Robert Heinlein and the book Time Enough for Love. And the quote is, "In life, moderation is for monks. Take big bites." That's how I've lived. So that's the motto. And your motto is what you say to yourself in the mirror in the morning. Your sentence of passion is your rallying cry out in the world. That's how you differentiate.
I love it. Okay, Joshua was giving us a lot of information, but it's about numerology. And so, Josh, with all due respect, we're going to stay with Corbie and her subject matter rather than going into numerology and life path. So thank you for your contributions. All right, Corbie.
Yes.
Do we have any other books coming out?
Actually, at the moment, what I'm doing, I'm writing a lot on medium.com. Now, what's Medium? Medium is so cool. It is a global blog. And so the key is get people to read you, get your followers. So at this point, I have 65, 70 blogs up there that are new. And I will write what hits me on a given day. I will write, there may be something from the book, but it's like this morning, it was same horse, different trails, because after 2 years, I am going back on the road at least a little bit with shows, but I have to read differently. The world was not as nuts in 2019 as it is now.
Yes.
So don't ask me for your 5-year plan. We've got war, climate chaos, and political divisions like we've never seen. Who knows 1 year, let alone 5. I will help give you courage and resilience, because I've had to use a lot of that in my 67-year roller coaster. And there's a much deeper level of compassion because people are, by and large, terrified. So how I read is different. You've got your pastor who runs the Cathedral of St. Philip in Atlanta. And then you've got Padre on MASH. We're all Padre on MASH now.
Yeah.
And so we have to do foxhole training. We have to decide what is important at this moment. If we died tomorrow, what would we want to leave behind? Because that's the state of the world. And do not read the same for Gen Zs, millennials. It's the difference between a boomer and an elder. If I want to leave you with one thing, is please be an elder, not a boomer. What's the difference? The boomer thinks, we got it right. Why can't you? Why aren't you doing it? Boomers, We never had to be afraid to go to school because we'd be shot dead.
Right.
We never worried about would the world be inhabitable by the time we were adults. We never worried that somebody would decide we deserved a bullet in the brain because we decided to wear a mask or take a vaccine. They do. So we have to get off the stage. It's not our stage anymore. It's theirs. We give them what timeless information is useful to them, but we stop telling them how to live their lives. And we're third trenchers in World War I. The third trench is where the supplies came in and they supported the troops. That's who we need to be now, we boomers. We've had our time. Give it to the kids. It's theirs now.
It's true. And the kids live things way differently. They see things differently.
Yes.
And they experience it differently.
Mm-hmm. And they like elders. They appreciate elders. But it's the boomers that it's white noise. And you have to make sure they understand you are not that. And that means you respect them and what they're going through and what their answers are.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I mean, even now, nobody would drink out of a hose today, where we thought nothing of it. People would ride their bicycle not thinking that they were going to be ripped off of it to be trafficked or go to a shopping mall, whatever it might be.
When I was 6 years old, I went several blocks around my neighborhood in Camden, New Jersey, which was a fine little town then, all by myself getting candy. We didn't worry about razor blades. We didn't worry about pills. We didn't worry about kids getting bludgeoned.
Right.
That world is gone. So don't tell the kids they don't have guts. Don't tell the kids they don't understand. They have guts and they do. You have to learn.
And they have their own set of courage. I mean, their courage is not our courage.
No, it has to be stronger and higher to the surface. We had this, what you call the sweet spot, from 1946 to about 1975.
Yeah. It's so
now
true.
They need to reinvent the world to find their own sweet spot.
Each of the generations coming forward from there. Absolutely.
Yes.
Corbie, thank you so much for all this amazing information and guidance, and for your books and how they help in ways that aren't out there. So, except for now, they're out there from you. So I suggest to everybody, if you have the opportunity, if this is in your wheelhouse, this is your lane, please check out Clean Out Your Closet, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and you've got the magic Who Needs a Genie. So finding your life purpose, your passion, your goals, learning how to find a charlatan, or what did you call them, Corbie?
Madam Hoo-Ha's and Swami Swellandas. That's who they are.
Swami Swellandas. And you've got the magic Who Needs a Genie for all the professionals out there looking to go into the new expos that are coming up, and how to really make them yours and successful for you. And if you want to reach Corbie Mitleid, MITLEID.com. See what she does, how she can work with you. She has a plethora of techniques that she can use to help you on your path and give you some guidance. So, Corbie, thank you so much for all of your time and your information and all you've shared. I want to thank Bridget.
Fun. Thank you for asking me.
My pleasure. And I would love to have you on again, because there's still so much there. Bridget, my right arm, my left arm, thank you so much for all you do for me, for what I do. You help me get out what I get out to the public, and I'm so grateful for you. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day, out of your life, to be a part of this show. Josh, thank you for all the information you shared with us. Grateful that you were open to doing that for us. And know that this show is developed and designed for you, with you in mind, to bring people like Corbie into your world so you can get a new perspective, new information from a fresh, new person who you may or may not have heard of. So thank you. I want to send prayers to those who are in Ukraine and who are dealing with all of the mishigas, the craziness that's going on there. sending you strength, light, love. And as I leave you, as always, I send you love, blessings, and gratitude. Know that I'm grateful that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it. Know you're loved and you're never alone. Ask your guides, your angels for help, and then they will step up and help you. Please check out my website at Marla Goldberrg. Goldberg has 2Rs.com to see how I can work with you and the services that I provide. And till the next time, till next week, stay well. Take care for now.